But here's another story that really flew underneath the radar, Rev, from last week. And Melvin actually insinuated about it last week. I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to talk about it this week. But the federal election regulators fined Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, earlier this month for not properly disclosing the money they spent on controversial opposition research that led to the infamous Trump-Russia dossier. The DNC was fined $105,000. The Clinton campaign only $8,000, according to the letter sent by the FEC to a conservative group that requested the inquiry. Political candidates and groups are required to publicly disclose their spending to the FEC, and they must explain the purpose of any specific expenditure more than $200. The FEC concluded that the Clinton campaign and the DNC misreported the money that funded the dossier, marking it as legal services and legal and compliance consulting instead of opposition research. The dossier was compiled by British spy Christopher Steele. It contained unverified and salacious allegations about Donald Trump, like the PP tapes. Remember that? Including claims that his campaign colluded with the Kremlin to win the 2016 election. Trump's campaign had numerous contacts with Russian agents and embraced Russian help, but no one was ever formally accused of conspiring with Russia. The money trail behind the Steele dossier has been a subject of intense political scrutiny for many years now. More than $1 million flowed from the Clinton campaign and the DNC to the law firm Perkins Coie, which then hired the opposition research company Fusion GPS. That company later hired Christopher Steele and asked him to use his overseas contacts to dig up dirt about Donald Trump's ties to Russia. Steele has maintained his research was unverified, required further investigation, and was not meant for public disclosure. But his memos were leaked in January 2017, weeks before Trump took office. Over the years, a series of investigations and lawsuits have discredited many of Steele's central allegations about collusion and exposed the unreliability of his sourcing. Now, in the letter announcing the fines, the FEC also revealed that it dismissed related complaints against Steele, Perkins Coie, and Fusion GPS, which have all previously denied wrongdoing. The Clinton campaign and the DNC never conceded that they violated campaign finance laws, but they agreed to drop their pushback and accept the fines, according to the FEC letter. Now, I don't know if were you here 6 years ago, Rev?
No.
Okay. When did
that
you
would have been in
back?
2015. I came here at the end of 2016.
Okay, so right. Okay, so 2015 is around the time I got here at WLTH. I was on with Jonathan Booz and Lloyd Fisher, right? Mm-hmm. When all this stuff started to come out, not the fusion stuff, that was 2017, at the beginning of 2017, but all the sort of talk about collusion and all the talk about Russia, all the Russia gating started at the end of the 2016 elections. And I remember at this time, especially when Hillary Clinton lost, looking at how the media was covering the sort of the story of supposed Russian collusion. Now remember, if you remember at the beginning, it wasn't Russian collusion. When the day after the election, it was Russia hacked our election. That's what they said. They made it seem as if Vladimir Putin and his hackers had hacked into voting booths and changed votes from Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump. Uh-huh. That was the way it was covered, say, the day after the election in 2016. I remember it. I was there. I was laughing at it because I thought it was ridiculous then, and I still think it's pretty ridiculous. Then, once that dog about, well, Russia hacked our election would not hunt, then they went to, well, collusion, you know. But here's something that people really don't know, right? Before Hillary Clinton ran for president, right, her own team did research and sort of took stock of what her big vulnerabilities were. And you know what her own team found was her biggest vulnerabilities were?
Go ahead.
Her family's ties to Russia.
Wow.
Now remember, Bill Clinton gets $400,000, was getting $400,000 per speech to these same Russian oligarchs
Right.
that the liberals claim helped Trump win the election. So the Clintons have deep ties to Russia. Bill Clinton helped not overthrow, but helped rig an election for Boris Yeltsin in the 90s, as we talked about here. It was even on the cover of Time magazine. You show you how arrogant Americans are. I think it said "America to the rescue," and it had Boris Yeltsin there standing on the front, like, yeah, this guy's our puppet, basically. But yeah, so the Clintons had deep ties to Russia. Her campaign manager, Tony Podesta, his lobbying firm had ties to the Kremlin of Russia. And so Russiagate was always projection. It was always projection. The Clintons had just as many ties to Russia, maybe even more ties to Russia than Trump. But the Clinton campaign and the corporate liberal media pushed the narrative that it was Trump who had all these ties to Russia, completely ignoring Bill Clinton getting these $400,000 speeches, just like they ignored that Hunter Biden has gotten millions of dollars from the Russians.
Right.
Okay? And this is, again, we talk about media credibility. Why people hate the media more than they hate even Congress, which Congress is full of degenerates like, the ones Madison Cawthorn was talking about. And it's because of stories like this. They have spent the last 6 years presenting that, well, Russia helped the Republicans, Russia helped Donald Trump, and so for this, Russia's our enemy, and so now we have to be antagonistic towards Russia, push towards World War III with the country that has the most nuclear warheads. Besides us, we have 90% of the world's nuclear warheads together. We have to continue to antagonize Russia, push NATO eastward, even though Joe Biden himself admitted that pushing NATO eastward would antagonize. This was pre-Vladimir Putin. He just said it would antagonize Russia. This is what he had to say about it in 1997.
I think the one place where the greatest consternation would be caused in the short term for admission, having nothing to do with the merit and preparedness of the country to come in, would be to admit the Baltic states now in terms of NATO-Russian, U.S.-Russian relations. And if there was ever anything that was going to tip the balance, were it to be tipped in terms of a vigorous and hostile reaction, I don't mean military, in Russia, it would be that. So the way I look at the calculus here.
Well, so he knew that they were stirring the pot back in the 90s with pushing eastward, okay? And so I'm just saying, like, when you look at how these people have created this environment, so now we have to accept $6 gas prices. We're going to have food shortages. All this is justified because Russia's our big enemy because they helped Donald Trump get in the White House. And so, this is why the media are the most hated people in the country. People are waking up to this. People on the left know this because, we people on the left, I mean, not myself, I'm not old enough, but people on the left, going back to people like Paul Robeson. Everybody, look up Paul Robeson, one of the great entertainers and civil rights activists of the 20th century, was Russiagated back in the 1930s and 40s. This is a man who had to leave America and go to the Soviet Union, a black man, because because of McCarthyism, and he was smeared as a communist and all this other stuff. And you see this, it's happened throughout the Vietnam War. It happened to Martin Luther King, was called a communist and a Russian puppet. Yeah. All these people for many years have been smeared by, at that time, the right, but now you see it's liberals who smear anybody who go against the war industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, and the corporate state as being, oh, you're Russian puppets now. So they put us in a situation where the right, the actual left, and even some people in the center are waking up to the way that the media and the establishment are pushing these narratives. Oh man, the phone lines are I feel like I may have to defend. I may need security to walk out of here, right? Hello, caller.
Well, hey there. Good evening. Good evening.
How's it going, brother?
Pretty good. A couple things. You know what? You start thinking about Ukraine.
Yes.
Isn't the real thing about energy
Mm-hmm.
and money in the first place?
Yep.
That's the whole thing, right?
Yep.
Control the Black Sea, and that access to the Mediterranean,
Yep.
right?
And they don't want Russia to have that pipeline to supply all of Europe with oil.
Well, that's right. What do you think? Now when you think about all this stuff, how do you think China got to be so powerful in the last 40 years?
Because they hold a lot of our debt.
Yep.
No, because we wanted free labor,
Oh yeah, we want to cheap
so
labor.
we
You're
used
right.
China as a new manufacturing base.
Yep.
Wait a minute.
So
You said wait.
He's
You
talking
said
about PNTR in the 90s when we normalized relations with China and allowed all those companies to send all those jobs overseas, right?
They got special tax incentives to do that.
Yep.
but that was only part of it. The other part was we wanted Chinese investment.
Well, that's
We
they
opened the
didn't-
door.
look,
They invested in so much in the United States.
they didn't have the money to invest. They had the manpower.
Wait a minute. They didn't have the money to invest. Where you get that from?
Wait a minute. Where are you starting from? I'm starting from Nixon.
Oh shoot! I mean, but they
Well,
had okay. You're right. It's starting from Nixon. They opened up China as a market and as a source for cheap labor. Well, in return, China's they're a
I
communist
understand.
country. The people that work there don't get paid.
I understand, brother. I'm only saying that's the scenario we find ourselves in
Yeah.
because we didn't want to pay American labor.
Yep.
We outsourced our labor job to a place like China. Now, it's the same thing if you go to the idea. I'm going to digress here. If you go to the idea of worldwide terrorism, right? It's
Right.
all about the Middle East and what the Islamics, right? But it's really about energy,
Yeah.
oil.
Yep.
So we watched this problem evolve since the 1960s.
You know what the irony of that is, though? And I bet you probably know more about it than I do. I remember reading about there was some guy that had developed, I believe it was a carburetor, that would make American engines so fuel efficient, but it would have gutted the petroleum industry.
Right.
That's a nice idea, okay? But the reality is we are addicts, and when you tell somebody, hey, baby, I'm going to get you rich, we're just like drug addicts. And we don't, the hell with our morality, the hell with humanity, I'm making some bucks.
Right.
And that's how we really work it. And people are seeing that as hypocrisy, and they're bailing. They're saying, hey, well, if the guiding light in the world is a bunch of hypocrites, why should we follow them? I mean, if you come back in our country, right? The policing is about public safety, right? The war on drugs is precisely what caused the gang problems in the Americas. So we are our own worst enemy. It's like we're crabs in a barrel. It's not our education system, right? We went from one of the best education systems in the world to where corporations tell the legislators what to do. So we do the type of education system they want us to have at the moment, and it changes every 6 months.
Right.
So you want children that are basically socially damaged because they come from poverty, because we're a class world. We're not really about your ethnicity as much as we are about your wealth, your your conditions. Are you wealthy enough, or are you one of them poor scumbag poor people?
Right.
And I say that facetiously because that's kind of how the rich folks look at you.
I agree. We got another call. Thank you for your call. Though we got another call on the
Yeah,
line.
good day.
He's been here for a while here. Hello, caller.
What's going on, Scott?
It's all good.
Hey, man. You know, you hear about they getting ready to expose him behind those bio labs in Ukraine, the metabiota.
Yeah, well, yeah, we talked about that last year,
last
week. Yes,
right.
yes, Hunter.
It's the go.
Yeah.
And we getting ready to sell Russia some of our modern stealth fighter jets, the F-35A Lightning II jets. Finna sell them to Germany.
Mm.
Now, what's so crazy about that? Germany done started the last 2 world wars.
Right.
And they gonna start the third one.
Oh.
Why would we sell them our best stealth fighters? Because you know why? They will be able to fit all those nuclear weapons that the United States got over there.
Mm.
They will be able to fit them. Right now, they can't fit them. You know, they don't have the jets to fit them. But they will be able to do this then.
Wow.
Now, you start researching that, Scott.
Oh yeah, you know I will.
Because, you know, stuff like this don't even make the news, man.
It does not, which is why the media are the most hated
Hey,
people in the country.
when I told Tommy, CNN WLTH getting ready to be better than CNN. This is where you're going to get your information.
Right.
Okay then, brother.
Thank
All right. How you doing, preacher?
Well, good.
All right.
Right. Thank you for your call. We got to go to a break.